Well, it's that time of year again. It is the Manchester Derby. Hopefully you guys are all well. Guys, do me a massive favour, yeah. Make sure you do drop a like on the stream. We've got 70 people in at the moment. Let's make sure we're hitting that thumbs up button. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel as well if you are new. And today I'm joined by my good mate Dan. We're together a lot on the 12-man podcast on YouTube that we do on Monday nights. And it's a bit of a madness, man, because I can't imagine you feeling too confident, bro, coming into the game.
Whatever gives you that impression, Albie. Whatever gives you that impression. Come on. I'm sure we'll get into it. Thank you.
Yeah, now welcome in, man. Welcome in. As I say, guys, make sure you drop a like on the stream, subscribe to the channel as well if you're new. Dan, let's start off with United. Last season, if we're being real, you guys actually did quite well. You know what I mean? You got in the top four. You won the Carabao Cup. You got to the FA Cup final. We can obviously raise red flags and sort of caveats to that in terms of, the league was a bit weird with Liverpool dropping out, Chelsea and whatnot. But ultimately, you achieved success, I suppose, in getting top four and a trophy. You've obviously made some big signings as well in the summer with, obviously, Onana coming in, Mason Mount's coming, Haaland's coming. What has gone so wrong at United this year that you guys could be in 10th place after 10 games if you get beat off City at the weekend? And what has honestly gone wrong, man?
A whole fortitude of things. I think if we get into the crux of it, I think Ten Hag had a system that worked last season and obviously was never going to achieve the impossible last season, but it worked. This season, he's tried to tweak things ever so slightly, but it's not got anywhere near where he was hoping it would go. I think the signings that he's made are questionable at best. I'm really happy. I must say, I know he's not scored in the league. I'm really happy with the Haaland one. I think that kid's got a lot of potential. I think he's been very unfortunate to not have got on the score sheet in the Premier League yet. He's been caught a couple of times, but I don't know. There's question marks over so many players in that squad, and this isn't new. This is nothing new as a Manchester United fan. We have this cycle that we fall into every season where a new manager comes in. The first season they do very well. The second season it's the same old situation. Players don't seem up for the battle, and evidently, as always, we seem to be found wanting. It's a long way to go in the league, but we are so far behind where we should be. Considering going into our 10th game, we're sat here saying we could be 10th. There's nothing positive about it. I think any Manchester United fan out there that sits there and says we're doing okay, it's not. And I said this at pre-season. I said I wasn't happy with the signings we made. I said the style of football we were looking like we were trying to play in pre-season, it was nowhere near good enough. Is there time to change it? I don't think Ten Hag's the person to come out and say, I've made errors here, let's go back and try this. I think he's too proud to do that, which we're seeing at the moment.
Yeah. No, it's a bit of a weird one, because the thing is, right, Haaland's come in, and I actually think he looks all right. I'm not going to say he looks mega, because he's not played enough for me to say that, but he looks okay. And I think the fact now you've got a vocal point up there looks decent, but I look behind him, and I just think, mate, it just looks shambolic. I mean, Rashford, I just said it then with Saeed, how he got 350k a week or whatever he's on is absolutely beyond me. Because whilst, yes, last year he did have a good year, if you actually look historically, if you go on transfer marked, right, and bring up his record in the Premier League every year, he does this every so often. He'll have a mint year, then drop off, have another dodgy year, decent year, mint year. Like, he doesn't consistently perform. And for me, with United, I just think that your standards have dropped so much that you're almost rewarding, not mediocrity, because he did do good last year, but you just, you played well there, have a new contract. And it's like, bro, what's going on? Where's the consistency? Like, players who are getting the top cash should be getting the top cash because they're doing it year after year after year. And that's what makes the best players in the world so good. That's why it wound me up that people was comparing Odegaard to Kevin De Bruyne last year, because it's like, Odegaard's done it for a year or 2 years or whatever. Kevin De Bruyne's done it for a decade. That's what makes the best players. And you look behind, you look at Rashford, and I'm thinking, on his day, he's frightening. Let's just not get it twisted. He is, but
100%.
You look at Anthony. Again, he's all right. He's a good footballer. United are not looking for good footballers, looking for world-class footballers. I think he's an average player. Bruno winds me up massively. Garnacho's still this young prodigy player who we don't really know whether it's going to work or not. Some United fans talk about Garnacho like as the next Messiah, mate. Like, it's like, come on, man, the guy's still a young player coming through. He might make it, he might not. You know, it happens all the time. Remember Federico Makeda?
Oh, how can you forget?
You know what I mean? So for me, I look at behind Haaland and I'm thinking, who else there is realistically going to help United push United forward?
The problem that Haaland's got as well is it's the wrong position to play at Manchester United, because so many teams have their attacking width, but they're creative as well as goal scorers. Whereas Rashford and Antony, their first thought isn't create, it's shoot. You know, I mean, how many times we've seen Antony cut in? As soon as he cuts in on that left, you know he's going to try and hit it and try and pop it in the top corner. Rashford will sometimes try and create, but Rashford's idea is get to the byline, cut back in, and try and whip it. So it is an awful position to play at in world football for me, because you're not getting the creativity. Yeah, okay, you've got Bruno behind you, but Bruno this season, I fear, has just been found wanting to try that Hollywood ball too much. Instead of bringing the ball down, keeping possession, he tries the impossible. Now, of course, when it happens, you link it up. Everyone loves it. This is incredible. This is amazing. But it's not what Manchester United need at the moment. What we need is hard work and consistency. But the problem we have there, again, we look at it this week, it's going to be a completely different midfield again. There's no consistency in the way that team plays, in the way that team is picked at the moment. So it's disaster after disaster, I'm afraid.
Yeah, no, I agree. And, you know, the consistency in a team is obviously so important. And, you know, I look at United and every week it's such chop and change. And I know obviously he's had problems with injuries and that. I know he's obviously had problems with injuries and that hasn't helped him. And you've got to give him credit. But, like, the team just changes all the time. And the midfield is the heartbeat of the team. And I never know what midfield. Like with City, you pretty much know, don't you? It's going to be Rodri in the middle. Obviously, Kevin De Bruyne's injured, but Kevin De Bruyne and then whoever else. The third one, he sort of can rotate, right? But United, I'm like, yo, Casemiro's now being questioned by Man United fans. Is he good enough? Has he fell off? Is he too old? Is he too slow? You know what I mean? McTominay, why is he still at a football club, Manchester United? I mean, I know he's had some good games recently, but
he's our top scorer in the league, mate. Put some
no,
respect.
No, he's not. No, he's not.
He's our top scorer in the
league.
Oh
my God.
3 goals.
What the hell, bro? Like, nah, your club's worse than I thought it was. You're in a proper mess. And then you look at the defense. I mean, it's embarrassing. Harry Maguire stood at the club. I know, again, he's played all right recently. Johnny Evans, mate. You know what I mean? I just look at your football club and think, are they purposely trying to wind up United fans? Are they on my side? Are they Glazers City fans? Why have you got these players at your club, man?
The question's asked. It's because we just don't know nobody knows how to run a football club at Manchester United. It is run by complete parasites. I know we can say that the money's spent, and it is, and we are one of the top spenders in the last 10 years. But as Man City, Liverpool, teams like this, it's not about spending the big money. It's about spending the right money on the right players. And Manchester United too many times have brought players in because they can, not because they should. And this is the issue that we have at Manchester United. Mason Mount can't get into the side now. This is a player that we were led to believe that Ten Hag at the end of last season said, "Get me Mason Mount." It's the transfer system that we have there is just it's diabolical, and it's messy at best.
Who's at fault for that? Who's at fault for the transfer policy? Whether that be the strategy, whether that be the players that they're going for? Because from the outside, obviously, from a City fan point of view, so I don't know as much as you on the topic, but it looks to me, I feel like these are Ten Hag signings, and therefore that has to put more pressure on Ten Hag because he's the one that signed Antony that's not working. He's the one that signed Mount that is a little bit still like, is this going to work? Like, is it his fault? Is it the board's fault? Like, who's making these signings?
I think both have got to be accountable because Onana is 100% Ten Hag signing. Mount, but from what we're led to believe, is a Ten Hag signing. Johnny Evans, by the sounds of it, was a phone call off someone. Honestly, I just picture it in pre-season. Anyone know a decent centre-back? hang on, I'll just get the phone out. Johnny, you retired yet? It just sounds like that sort of signing. It really does. So I think it's a bit of both. The manager wants these players. Obviously, he has to give them time to try and fit in his system. But equally, I think the way that we do signings is horrendous. You know, I saw it this season with City, with Paqueta. We want Paqueta. It's going to cost you 80, 90 million. No, I'm not interested. Declan Rice, exactly the same. Manchester United, when Manchester United ring a football club and say, we want to sign your player, you just know that whoever's in charge of selling that player at the other club's going, we're going to get 20, 30 million extra easily here. We don't bring the players in anywhere near quick enough. Simple as that. You know, back in the good old days, the glory days of Sir Alex Ferguson, the signings were done before pre-season. He wanted to get on that plane with his signings. So it's a mix of both, LB. You have to put something on the manager with this. You have to. You know, at the start of the season, we had an argument on Potts' show where I said, no. But as it's gone on, it's not working. It's not working. And this is why you're seeing him having to eat a bit of humble pie with certain players coming back into the squad. So it's a bit of both. Richard Arnold doesn't. He couldn't run to the shot, mate. He can't run. He's horrendous. And this is why a lot of Manchester United fans like myself were pinning our hopes on that full sale takeover, completely wipe the board, just start again. But it's going to get worse, and I fear that 10 years time I'll be sat here saying the same thing.
Do you have? We will turn our attention to the game in a minute, but this is just like, I've got to do this. You know what I mean? Like, my childhood was ruined by Man United, so you know, take the 15-20 minutes of torture here, and then we'll move on to the game.
Every week off you.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, you do. Yeah.
This beard wasn't white before I met you, mate. It's completely gone now.
By the way, guys, make sure you're tuning into football's 12-man podcast, man. Monday nights, it's always a good show. Do you have confidence in Ten Hag? Because obviously, I remember that show early on in the season where I sort of raised it, and you defended him at the time. And my point has always been more a respect for Manchester United of what's going on at Man United now is a mess, right? And I don't think at this moment in time Ten Hag can handle the pressure because, again, if you look at his career, he's been at Ajax, right? He's won some titles in the Eredivisie in the Netherlands. Give him flowers for that. But again, how much flowers do you give him for winning the Eredivisie, right? Champions League, he did very well for 1 year. I give him credit. He did very well. He got to a semi-final, beat some big teams, but then ultimately did bottle it against Spurs in the semi-final when they should have beat them. And in the other Champions League campaigns he had with Ajax, he actually disappointed. That was the only one season that he done well. The other, if you actually look at the groups, he probably should have done a lot better than he actually did. And I don't know whether or not he's got the authority over these players because of who he is, because he's not a Pep, because he's not a Mourinho, because he's not an Ancelotti, this type of guy. Do you think that he can actually turn this around? Or do you think that grace period is over? Maybe you might have to look for another manager who's like an Ancelotti, like a Zidane, like a Pep style, who will come in and the players will say, you've won stuff before, big trophies, we're going to back you, we'll do what you say. Well, where are you at with Ten Hag?
I've said this at the start of the season, and I'm not going to change my mind. I will give him time. I will. At the end of the day, if we were to cut our losses after 10 games in the second season, considering how everybody, the pundits alike, like to say that we had a fantastic season last season, and what are we doing? You make a very good point about is he able to handle the pressure of being a Manchester United manager and able to handle the dressing room, the people in there. The one thing I will say is we've had really good managers. We've had Jose at Manchester United. It didn't work. We've Van Gaal come with off the back of a fantastic World Cup, a really good CV. I don't think it's about that. I think it is a case of it is the same players that will let down any manager who's here. We're not a football club who can just have a manager come in and say, right, you're gone, out. We tried it this season. We tried to get rid of Maguire and McTominay. Didn't happen. De Gea only went because he was on a free transfer. And let's be honest, we were looking like we were going to keep him up until we realised we could afford him.
Are you bringing him back? I seen a rumour yesterday on Twitter that you might be bringing him back in January or something. Is that true?
It can't. I just honestly, if he did come back, then Ten Hag would look a complete mug, wouldn't he? He has come out and said, I want to play this style of football, and then brings back the person who he... Look, let's be honest, between the lines last season when you read it was blaming De Gea for the way we were playing football from the back. So I can't see it. If he's brought back in, he's been brought back over Ten Hag's head, 100%.
Yeah, I mean that was a madness, because to be honest with you, like, I know a lot of people at United, like United fans, probably think that was the wrong call, but I know it's not really properly worked out with Onana, but I actually think it was the right thing, because ultimately, if you want to play football out from the back, which you've got to assume that is what Ten Hag wants to do, then you have to get rid of David De Gea. I actually think he should have done it day one. I think he's like Pep Guardiola done with Joe Hart. I think he should have done that straight away, because that hindered him last year. He couldn't play out from the back because David De Gea couldn't. If he brings him back, I just think that can't happen, man. But then you see David De Gea tweeting with Bruno Fernandes and doing these emojis and shit, and it's like,
he's having fun, mate. He's having fun, isn't he?
You think he's on the wind up?
100%. And I don't blame the bloke. The thing I will say is I was one of the fans last season who said he's got to go. I was, his clean sheet record, brilliant, but he still conceded 43 goals. Considering he got the most clean sheets in the league, that still shows how bad we were away from home. The other side of it is, though, I think Ten Hag has learnt a massive lesson this season. I think he expected to bring a ball-playing goalkeeper in, but I don't think he expected the players around this ball-playing goalkeeper to not be able to do that job. I saw it in pre-season. I saw it at the start of the season where Onana was trying these passes out from the back, and our players didn't look. They looked shell-shocked. They didn't know what to do with it. And you've got to give Onana time. You have to. We've spent that much money on him. We cannot sit here. Any Man United fan who sits there and says, "No, get rid of him. Play the reserve keeper." Come on now. You can't spend that much money. He's had a decent, performance against Copenhagen, and again, that makes me feel sick saying that. But you have to build from these things. The thing I will say, going back to and coming on to this weekend, is, yeah, we're on the back of winning a few games, but the games that we've won have been against Brentford when we were 1-0 down till the 90th minute. Sheffield United, we managed to blitz with a moment of madness. These are the teams that we should be identifying how we play football, controlling the game, not having any blips, not having to worry about any mistakes. But it's been, put simply, it has been grit and determination that's ground out these results. And I'm meant to feel confident against Sheffield United, against Copenhagen, when we've got Manchester City, who are off the back of a treble, who are playing arguably some of the best football in the world. I know obviously you had a little blip of 2 games, but it's the same thing with Manchester City. And I used to love this, being a Man United fan. We would lose a couple of games at the start of the season, and you'd go, "But we're United. Don't worry about it. We're going to be there at the end of the season." And that's where it is with Manchester City now. Manchester United, we are so far off the pace. And what makes me furious is that you see some of the United fans saying, "But all we need to do is finish 5th." Well, Manchester United finishing 5th for so long was not an option, and this is where we are now. So we have to take this weekend as it comes. It's got to be pride. These players have to not just play for pride for themselves, but for the fucking fans. You know what I mean? The fans that turn up there, like myself, who still believe and just give everything. Against Manchester City, though, is that enough? Well, it's Derby Day. The only thing I can hang on to is it's Derby Day. Anything can happen. But again, that's the slightest faint of hope we have.
Yeah, well, as you can tell, guys, Dan's feeling hella confident ahead of the game on Sunday. We're going to go through the starting 11s and do some predicted 11s and have a look at who could be playing against who. And we'll get the tactical pad up in just a second. Guys, make sure, as always, you drop a like on the stream if you've not done so already. Massively help support the channel. We got over 100 people in the building now. Let's see if we can get to 75 likes, guys. I need, 12 people? 12 people. Hit that thumbs up button, man. And make sure you are subscribed to the channel as well. As I say, massively help support me on this channel journey. Right, let's bring up the tactical pad down. Which no, I don't like that one. I'm trying to work out. Oh no, I don't like that one. That's, you can't even see us. Oh no, that's the worst. There we go. We'll stick with this one. Right, okay. Let's do some predicted 11s, and I'll start off with the City back four, then we'll go through your back four, and then work it through that way. So if we think back to last year, right, you guys won the game. Now, obviously, you had a massive helping hand from the referee, but ultimately, I actually don't think that is why we didn't really win the game. For me, City's problem last season is our defence was Cancelo on the left, Ake, Akanji, and Kyle Walker. Now, what do you think of when you think of that? You think of players that are unable to progress the ball up the pitch from deep. Now, people will say, Cancelo could do that, and he couldn't really do that from deep. He can do it further up the pitch, but from deep, you don't really want him doing that. He cost us a lot of goals by doing stupid shit. Ake can't. Akanji was still fresh, so he probably didn't feel that he had the authority or didn't have the confidence to start, in a derby game, take the ball and dribbling it into midfield. You probably just want to keep things simple. And Kyle Walker's not the best at that either. Probably one of the worst in our defence at doing that. So what you had is a situation, right? In fact, let me bring it up. I'll show you exactly sort of what happened. So Ake was there, Akanji was here, Walker was here, and I'm just going to put Sergio Gomez there. But just imagine that was Cancelo, right? The problem that you had here, right, is that Ake didn't really want to play balls here. They want to play balls here because he's not got it in his locker, right? Ake's a very solid defender. I think most teams in the Premier League would take Ake, but he's not going to start dribbling up here with it. Similarly with Cancelo, very good in this sort of area of the football pitch. In the attacking third. Defensively, though, he's not really going to dribble out. Walker, everybody knows his limitations. Akanji can do it, and I think we've seen now that he can do it, but I just feel that it was probably too early in his career at City for him to start doing a John Stones style dribbling into midfield away at Manchester United. So effectively, what you had for the whole game was this: pass the ball, pass the ball, pass the ball, pass the ball, pass the ball. Now, what that meant was that it was who played in midfield? It was Bernardo Silva played in midfield, and it was Kevin De Bruyne played. Now, because we couldn't get the ball forward, what you had is this: you had Bernardo dropping deep to pick the ball up because he was like, right, I'll fucking sort this out. But then you have De Bruyne completely isolated, man marked off Fred. So essentially, what we're saying is here, City had no out ball. We didn't have a way of getting the ball from our defence to our killer players, Kevin De Bruyne. Here's the difference. This year, it's going to be completely different because our defence is going to be completely changed from what it was last season. So I'm going to go Kyle Walker. I'm going to go, obviously, Akanji's suspended for this game. It was a shame as well because he played really well against Young Boys in midweek. I think Gvardiol played on the left. Instantly, on that left-hand side, we have a ball that can go there. We have a ball that can go in there. Gvardiol will go in here, no problem. He'll go there, no problem. We have a player that's confident in getting that ball forward. John Stones. Is there a better ball-playing centre-half in the world football than John Stones right now? Probably not. You know what I mean? And I think you'll have Diaz, who's not the best player in the world at getting the ball forward, but has the courage and the minerals to do it, which at times is all you need. So if you compare that back four now to the back four that we had against you last year, the back four that couldn't get the ball forward, instantly you've got 3 upgrades because Gvardiol is better at Cancelo in this position at getting the ball forward. Further up the pitch, it probably transitions to Cancelo. Stones is the best player in world football at doing it. And Diaz, probably actually slightly weaker at Akanji than doing it, but has the confidence in the game to do it. So that's going to be my predicted back four. And that for me is actually why we didn't win last year. Because we just didn't create enough because we couldn't get the ball forward. So that's what I'm going to go for. Any thoughts on anything I've just said? Any thoughts on this defence?
Yeah, I think. Do you know when you set up last season, obviously with Ake and Akanji, that was something that when I looked at it, I thought we can really penetrate that. We were playing a lot of counter-attacking football, and everything you're saying about the phase of play, be midfielders having to drop deep. That worked a charm for us. That really brought into where we were at home. That is the way we were playing football at home. So the fact that your most creative players were having to drop, well, that was bread and butter because that meant our transition was we could push and we could push with them dropping. So this season, the thing for me with that defence that worries me is it's just solid, isn't it? It's just, I mean, against what we have, it's just solid. I can't see where we can exploit. I mean, obviously, as we said before, Rashford doesn't do bad in derby days. Let's be honest. He does turn up every now and then for a derby day, but against the pace of Walker, I can't see him getting any joy. We need him at his absolute A game. We need him with a point to prove. We need him to do something special. Anthony on the right for us. You know my thoughts on Anthony. Any manager out there who knows anything about football knows. Just show him onto his right. You show him onto his right, he's going to have to turn around and try and reset possession. So the back four, of course, you know, it's a back four. I think I think I'd happily take, mate, especially when we get into the back four. I think we're going to have.
Right, well, let's get into the back four. If I've missed any players off the squad list, I'll just whack them on. But I think I've got everyone. So obviously Onana, he's obviously the main goalkeeper at the moment. I mean, he's not really hit the ground running, but did make a big save in midweek. In fact, one that could potentially keep you in the Champions League, because I think if you didn't win that, I think it was looking very, very bleak. And I still think it looks difficult for United to get out of that group, because obviously you've got a tricky game against Galatasaray and Bayern Munich. But yeah, a bit of a mixed start, disappointed, but optimistic that he can turn it around, I guess, is probably what you're thinking. Am I right?
I'd say blind faith, to be honest, LB. Blind faith.
That's as much as you can gather at the moment, isn't it? You can't go any further than that. Right, take me through your defence. What would you do? And you can tell me your predicted / what you do in defence.
I mean, obviously, so Dalot has to start there. He's already fit right back, to be honest. What we have seen at left back a lot, and I'm so worried that he might do this to try and be more defensive, is we've seen Lindelof play at left back. One thing that I've seen with Reguilon when he plays, Reguilon has got so much passion playing at Old Trafford, but the thing for me is he will get absolutely ripped to pieces, as we saw against Bayern Munich. But I'm going to say it. I think he's going to put Lindelof at left back. I think he will try. I honestly think he'll try and shore it up there.
Wow.
It just honestly terrifies me. So we'll go Lindelof at left back.
Okay. Lindelof at left back. Okay, yeah, didn't see that one coming. Yeah.
No, well, that's where we are, mate. That's where we are. And then I think it will be it'll have to be Varane and it'll have to be Maguire at centre back. Now, obviously, Varane's a Rolls Royce, but it's injury prone, and that's been our biggest issue with Varane since we've had him. He can never normally play more than 3 or 4 games without getting injured. Maguire, everyone is giving him his flowers, and do you know what? The human side of me, I'm so happy for him. You know, that the humane side of me, he's gone through a lot at Manchester United, but playing against Sheffield United, playing against Copenhagen, playing against these teams that thump the ball in, which is what he's good at. He is strong in the air. He can win those balls, and he's able to, because of the style of play he's against, he can then do those raking long balls, which he loves to do. Against Manchester City, against Haaland, he is going to have a very, very, very busy day. Unfortunately, we don't have Luke Shaw, who pocketed Haaland last time at Old Trafford, available. I kid, but that's my back four. And the thing is, again, as we'll talk about when we get into midfield, they are going to have to be shielded so much, that back four, because all it takes, as you've seen with Manchester City, is when Dalot does a run up there. Manchester City have players that will literally just slot and go, and then you are literally you've got 2-on-1 on Varane, because the way Manchester City attack, it's frightening sometimes how quick they do it. Manchester United have been found out so many times when they've pushed forward thinking they can be progressive, and it turns out it just gets absolutely destroyed at the back. So that's my worry there with the 2 at the back, and why I think he will play Lindelof left back to sort of comply against that.
Yeah. Okay, interesting. Let me let's go to the City midfield then, guys. Let's take a look at what we can see. So obviously Rodri's back. Great news. Since he's come back, we've looked fantastic. Well, not fantastic. We've looked a lot better since he's come back in. He's obviously he's crucial to our team. Mint. I think what he's going to do, I think Alvarez plays, because he's undroppable. He got rested midweek. Come on, scored a great goal. Ruled off for handball, which I think was harsh given the official rules, but it is what it is. And what I do is I play Bernardo Silva in the middle. You know what? If you would ask me 4 weeks ago, 5 weeks ago, I might have gone Kovacic, but Kovacic, unfortunately, recently has just dropped off too much to the point where he's just not looking very good, to be honest. So I stick Bernardo in there. What does that give us, guys? Well, it gives us protection of the defence in Rodri. Not that they're going to need too much protection, but John Stones pushes in the midfield. We'll have a box midfield, a box in midfield, which I really, really like. This is obviously what was so different personnel, of course, but this was what basically won us the treble. This 4-man box midfield with different players. It gives you so much control of the midfield, because what other teams play with 4 players in midfield? No one plays with 4 midfield. Most teams play with 3 nowadays. Very, very brave teams will still play with 2, but most teams play with 3. So you're gaining a man. And if a team does drop a player in there, usually it's from their attack, not the defense, which then hinders their attack. It then hinders their attacking capabilities. So I really, really like that. And obviously, if you absolutely need, Rodri can drop back into this sort of defensive position if you absolutely need that. For me, you've also got energy in the midfield with Bernardo Silva and Alvarez. High energy players, something that's probably going to be required in a derby match. You see Bernardo Silva playing in midfield in big games. He played there last year, and you might say, LB, Bernardo was kind of whack there last year. I don't think that was his fault. I think that's the defense's fault last year, as explained earlier in this stream. In this game, I expect Bernardo to play a lot higher up the pitch. And in fact, if he does play in that position, remind me to check his heat map on SofaScore from last year compared to this year, because I imagine he'd be higher up the pitch because he doesn't need to drop deep. Why would Bernardo Silva need to drop deep here? He doesn't need to get the ball off Stones here. He don't need to do that. He don't need to get the ball off Gvardiol here. He don't need to do that. He can stay up, split the Man United midfield, and of course you've got high impact, high energy with Julian Alvarez as well, who can also score your goals and create some as well. So that for me would be my midfield. I think it's perfect for a game like this. It gives us a defensive base. And of course, Bernardo can also drop back and make it a double pivot and probably will do. At some point, we'll probably go through a little bit of pressure, as you always do in every game. So that would be my midfield. There are shouts maybe for Nunes, not for me, too early in his career. Foden, I've got a plan for Foden, but that would be my midfield three for this game. And that back four with that midfield three, I just think, even though Kevin De Bruyne's not playing, that Dan must be looking at that and thinking, "Fucking hell."
It's progression, mate, isn't it? It's just the whole side of it. The midfield three with the four behind. It's progression. You know that anywhere on that field, they're going to be just as comfortable in possession, utilising, switching as they are anywhere else on the pitch, and that's something that we've obviously missed a lot this season.
Yeah, no, absolutely. All right, let's have your midfield. What we're doing? Five midfielders.
Come on now.
Six.
Come on now. This is Ten Hag. You know that's not going to happen. Right. Okay. So the word coming out this week is that Casemiro isn't going to be fit.
How big a miss is that going to be, man?
Well, if you speak to some Man United fans, he's past it. So not a miss at all. Do you know what I mean?
Are you one of those United fans, or?
I feel like he's been completely let down by the system he's been played in, and I think he's been found wanting. So many times this season already, I've seen him have to try and deal with two or three players running him at once. Whereas last season it was him and Eriksen all season, wasn't it? Is that sort of defensive midfield. Eriksen was more that deep line playmaker and allowing Casemiro to have a bit of protection. This season with the whole Mount signing, I think they tried to do it that Casemiro was on his own and they were utilising Mount and Bruno together on their own, together as a two. So I don't think Casemiro plays. I think I know you rush your big players back, but if it's an ankle injury against that midfield three, I think it'll cause more trouble than it's worth. I think he will actually go Amrabat, and I think he'll go Christian Eriksen as the two. I think Christian Eriksen's done quite reasonably well coming off the bench, and his creativity's been quite decent. I just wouldn't start Scott McTominay. I wouldn't do it. I just don't think in that midfield, I think you get eaten up. I think we've seen it time and time again. Okay, he scored 3 goals in his last, I think it's last 3. It's not the same as playing Manchester City. It's not the same. You need discipline. And I think Eriksen, what he looks at in Eriksen is a player that can pick the ball up and try and make something happen from a deeper standing. Obviously, Bruno will be in front of them. I don't think Bruno will be on the wing. I think it will be the midfield three. But I think Amrabat's going to have to be the person that we rely on to do so much of that defensive work that we need.
So, what was it, Amrabat and Eriksen, did you say?
That's who I think.
In a sort of, what you're playing them in sort of like a 2 in midfield?
Yeah, it'll have to be. LB, we can't put one and try and go toe for toe. It won't happen. It can't happen.
Okay, so a midfield 3 there of Amrabat and Eriksen. Any concerns about sort of like pace and energy? Because if you look at Bernardo and Alvarez, the thing that screams out there, the thing that I'm looking at, just temporarily move Fernandez up there a second. If we look at these players here, what I'm looking at there screams out to me is we have an energy advantage. Now, Bernardo Silva doesn't stop running. Alvarez is incredible. Eriksen's getting on. And Amrabat I think he looks all right, but does that concern you a little bit at all? Or do you think because of the way you're going to be playing, you're going to be sitting back, it's not going to be an end-to-end game, or not expect it to be an end-to-end game? Do you think actually the energy thing, the energy battle might not be a bigger part as maybe I'm making out?
It depends. It depends on how we start the game, LB. If we try and go toe for toe with you in the first 5 minutes, try and get the crowd behind us, then it can hurt us massively. It's going to have this two-man midfield is going to have to be about discipline. It has to be about discipline and utilizing the ball and being and looking around, not trying these Hollywood passes and trying to catch them on the counter. It has to be discipline. Again, obviously, I would love to sit here and put Casemiro and Rabat, which is again what so many Manchester United fans were telling me. You wait till we get Amrabat and we get Casemiro, they're going to be like the troublesome twosome, whatever. It's not worked out like that. Obviously, I see people in your chat saying that he's in training, Casemiro, but it was an ankle injury in Brazil. He was allowed to stay back a bit later to try and get through that. I just think it's going to have to be about discipline. It's as simple as that. If we go toe for toe, we will get absolutely destroyed.
Yeah, no, I'm just getting the quotes here on Casemiro. Apparently, it's a race against time for Casemiro, people are saying. So maybe he's got a chance, but I mean, when you say a race against time, that doesn't sound great, does it? And like you said yourself, like even if he is sort of like available,
It's the wrong game to rush him back into. It's the wrong game. If he's nursing an ankle injury and he's trying to compete in that midfield, he'll do himself more damage than it's worth.
Yeah, this is what he said, Ten Hag, apparently in the press conference. He said Wan-Bissaka was in training today. Casemiro is in a race against the clock. He is not 100%. So, because like you say, right, you can rush him back, but if he does more damage and then he's out for another month and then he missed 5, 6, 7 games. You got to, but at the same time, is this a must win for Ten Hag? Is this a must win for Man United? Listen, it's not an easy decision for him to make. I'll give him that one, but it'll be interesting to see. Anyway, you've gone with him being protected and not rushed back. So Eriksen, Amrabat, and Fernandes in midfield. Okay, interesting. All right, let's go to the front three. I'll get this going with obviously the main man up top. That's easy for me to put Haaland in there. The man who is in horrendous form at the moment with, I think, 14 goals and assists in all competitions combined. Top of the Premier League goal scoring and already has a few in the Champions League as well. Right-hand side, the plan is, for me, Phil Foden. I think this year plays on the right-hand side. Last year, did play, but played on the left. And for me, the left is his worst position out of every single position he could potentially play on this football pitch. I don't think he's as effective on that left as he is on the right. As I say, my long-term future is for him to be in the middle. But at the moment, with the current players we have, I would stick him out on that right-hand side. And listen, I think this battle here between Lindelof and Foden, I mean, I'm looking at that. I'm taking that. You know what I mean? I think Phil Foden could do damage on that, So let's see how he gets on there. And then the left-hand side, which to be honest with you, I think most City fans so far, Dan, probably agree with my starting 11. Unlucky for Ake not to be in the team. He's been very good, but ultimately, I think most people would agree with the defense. Midfield, maybe some people want Foden to be in the middle, but ultimately, I think most people would agree with that. Foden is hurt, LB. Okay, well, I've not heard anything about Foden being injured. If you can pull me up the quote, bro, I'll reconsider. But I've not heard anything about Foden being injured. But if you can get a quote in the chat, then I'll obviously take him out. For me, the only other difficult decision is who plays left, because Doku's been fantastic since he come in, but Jack Grealish has had the best game of his season against Young Boys in midweek. He was absolutely phenomenal. For me, in this, Jack Grealish scored against Manchester United last year at Old Trafford with the header, and I just feel that you've got to go. I just go back to what's worked, and Grealish has worked last season. He played really well against Young Boys. I give him the nod. And if you need Doku off the bench, Jesus, that's a good player to bring off the bench. I
remember these days, LB. I remember these days when we used to be able to do stuff like this, mate. I remember.
Yeah, man. For me, I'm going to go. In fact, let me just do a quick poll in the chat as well. Grealish or Doku left wing. I think a lot of people will probably vote Doku because we have a lot of Doku fans, which is fair because he's mint. But for me, yeah, I just think Grealish in this one. He scored there last year. He had a really good game against Young Boys. He won the treble. Put him back in. And then you have the firepower of Jeremy Doku on the bench. And Doku can play left. He can play right. So it'll be interesting to see what he goes with. For me, that's really the only decision he has to make, Pep. If we look at the team again. For me, that's the only decision he has to make. I think everything else pretty much picks itself. So, yeah, there we go. Right, let's get into the Manchester United attacking three, and then we can have a look at some tactical battles on the pitch. So, what we having, man?
I think it's pretty apparent, isn't it? He's going to go Anthony, Rashford, and Haaland. There was an interesting comment he said in the press conference this week where he's basically spelt out by saying, "I will keep playing Rashford." It's as simple as that. Rashford should have been dropped a few times this season, I think, but I suppose a game like this, you don't drop Rashford in the Manchester derby. You look at players like Rashford, who's a Manchester boy, who you'd like to think gets it and hopefully will lead us to something. But I don't see there being a change from that. There's arguments that maybe you could put Garnacho on there, but I just don't think it's too big for Garnacho to start this sort of game this early on into the season, meaning so much for us. He's gonna have to go with tried and tested, I'm afraid.
Yeah, no, I hear that. I mean, this earlier on in the stream when I was speaking about it, this for me is really where I have massive issues with United because you spent a lot of money, right? This guy, I think, has questions to answer. This guy is not good enough to play for Manchester United. He can look good now and again. He can score a few goals. He's not good enough. This guy, I know he's controversial. He's got the quality, but I really don't like him. I don't think he sets a good leadership on the pitch. I can't believe he's your captain. I think he's the way he moans all the time. He's got to step up. United fans telling me that he ghosts in big games. Well, tomorrow or Sunday is a big game, and he needs to perform. The one ray of sunshine you've got, well, it's still early days, is Haaland. I actually think he's looked all right since he's coming to Man United. I think that actually, if he had better players around him, he'd probably have a few goals by now. But he's dealing with players that, are just not up to the required standard. It ain't looking good, Brev.
The thing I will say about Haaland that I've really enjoyed about him is there's no fear there. There's no fear at all. He is willing to go shoulder to shoulder with any player. His first touch, I've been really impressed with his first touch, getting the ball out of his feet, making that movement, and he is very, very quick. Obviously, against the Man City side, that is going to be our best bet. The pace, that pace moving on to you when you're in a transition, if we hit you on the counter, that's going to be where we're going to have to be at our absolute best. Because if you look at the midfield battle there, regardless, okay, if you drop Eriksen out of there and you put Casemiro in there, regardless of that, as ball playing, it's men against boys, isn't it? And I hate saying that. I absolutely detest saying that. But this is where we are as Manchester United. The battles across the field when you put it across like that. Anthony, you know exactly what he's going to do. Rashford is going to be interesting. If he turns up, he will have a massive battle against Walker. But the thing that Rashford's going to have to do, regardless of it being Lindelof or Reguilon at the back there, he's going to have to do his defensive work. He's going to have to. That's one thing I will say about Anthony. He does tend to drop and assist with Dalot. We are going to have to make sure that we are literally running into the ground in this game.
Yeah, no, I agree on the defensive play, especially for Rashford. One question that I've sort of been asking myself here, right, and it's interesting because Saeed brought it up in the last stream I just done, and I didn't even say it, and he said the same thing as me, is how do Man United win this match? Like, I'm looking at this, I'm thinking, okay, they could potentially draw, right? That's fine. But from a United point of view, what are you saying to the team? What are the tactics? How are you setting up to actually win this game? Because I'm looking at the City defense. I'm looking, that's hella strong. The midfield's strong. The attack's strong. And I'm looking at your players, Anthony. You know what I mean? Rashford in and out of form at the moment. Haaland's still fresh. Your midfield, you ain't got the key players that you really want. How are you actually scoring in this game? You know what I mean?
Counter-attacking football. That is the only way Manchester United are going to get anything out of this. The way that the midfield has played this season, I don't trust them enough to be able to pick the passes out. the biggest problem we've had is keeping possession of the ball. This is one of the most simple things when you're a football team. Keep the possession. Try and take the sting out of what they're doing. Manchester United don't do that. With regards to the back, it's going to be a case of I can't see. I don't look at that team and think, right, we've got Varane and Maguire, rock solid. Varane is fantastic, of course, but I look at that midfield and I think that defense, and I think we need to make sure we protect them, because when you move very, very fast. And when you look at that back five, take away the keeper, the back five of Eriksen, Amrabat, Varane, Maguire, Lindelof, there's no pace. Dallow's got a bit of pace. There is no pace. So it's going to have to be, and I say this word and I get mocked for it so much, it's got to be discipline. It has to be discipline. And the one thing they have to do on Sunday is keep their heads. We saw it in the FA Cup. We were 1-0 down after, 12 seconds? Heads went. You've got to make sure you keep your heads. It's at Old Trafford. The fans are going to be absolutely up for this, regardless of how bad we've been this season. The fans are going to expect on Sunday. They have to do it, not just for themselves, but for the fans. But the main thing is they cannot go toe-to-toe in any aspect on that field. They cannot do it. They have to be clever in the way they play.
Let me ask you a question. Because obviously you're saying play counter-attacking football. That will mean concede a lot of the possession to City. Do you think actually it would be better if this game was at the Etihad, where you don't have the fans? Because I get the United fans are going to be behind United, but after 10, 15 minutes, if City have had 70, 80% possession, and United fans, getting a bit twitchy, ain't looking good. Do you actually think that it's at the wrong stadium almost? Because if you went to the Etihad, there's 3,000 United fans there. United players are not going to get into pressure off the fans. Like, how long can United sit there? Because I'm hearing from United fans that the only way that we could potentially win this game, and by the way, I agree with what you're saying, is counter-attacking football. But can you really sit there at Old Trafford for 90 minutes and take wave after wave of attack and be so disciplined? And then, but with the fans not going to be like, fucking get forward, you know what I mean? Try and make shit happen.
Should we? No. I agree with everything you're saying there, but we have to be realistic here. And I'm afraid that Ten Hag is going to have to swallow any pride that he's got here and look at this as a game that he has to get something out of LB. It's either going to go one of two ways here. We're either going to come out, try and play and get absolutely destroyed, or something's going to happen there. Something has to happen. The way the season's gone so far, so much bad play, so much disjointedness, no passage and style there. We have to stick and be strong on Sunday. It's as simple as that.
It's going to be an interesting one, man, because City, someone told me before, if City don't win, then we could find ourselves fifth. Which is that true?
Are you losing sleep, LB? Be honest with me now. Come on.
Well, exactly, not really. And Spurs are still 0-0 at the moment in time. Touch wood. So that's 30 minutes in, and if they drop points tonight, that'll be decent for City. But Arsenal beat Sheffield United, so we'll go third. Liverpool are playing Forest. They'll probably beat Forest, so they'll go above us. And Villa are playing Luton Town, so yeah, they'll probably beat them. So if we don't win, we'll probably be fifth. But if United don't win, then there's a chance that you guys could be 10th, maybe even 11th if Palace actually get a result tonight against. I find United proper weird, right? Because obviously at the moment the club looks like it's in crisis mode. I mean, Champions League still looking very sketchy, and you guys are sitting in 8th. But if you win against City, that's 3 wins in the bounce on the Premier League and 4 wins in 5. But if you lose, you could be in the bottom half.
The thing is, though, LB, you're a realist just like me, mate, in the sense of as well as I do. If we win, it's papering over cracks. It's as simple as that. This is the derby. This is form goes out the window with the derby. It is from my day of when I used to watch football, when derbies meant something. It's war. 2 wins on the bounce, yeah, okay, brilliant. A third one on the brilliant, and then who have we got after that? I think we've got Everton. I think it's Everton after that, or is it Foot? Anyway, it's about we have to win. We do. We have to win to save anything, salvage anything from this season, and to sit here and say that 10 games in to the Premier League, it's terrifying. It's absolutely terrifying.
Yeah, I'm looking at your fixtures now. You got Newcastle coming up in the Carabao Cup, which is you know, you take it. It's one of them. If you win, buzzing. You try and use it as a springboard. If you lose, I won't bother anyway. Then you got Fulham away. That should be a win. Copenhagen away in the Champions League. I mean, that's again a huge game. You got Luton Town, should be a win. Everton should be a win. So you got a couple favourable fixtures coming up. You got what, three Premier League, or is it Fulham, Luton, and Everton? That's 3 favourable Premier League fixtures coming up. That could be 9 points. I mean, that'll put you on what, 24 points. So that'll be a good boost. But then after that, it's serious time. You got Newcastle, Chelsea. You do have Bournemouth, but you've also got Liverpool, Villa in there, Spurs coming up as well later on in the year. So it's a bit of a madness, man. It's a bit of a madness. So Sam, I'm looking forward to it. Are you doing a score prediction or a result prediction? What are you doing?
Just sat here banging my chest saying we've got to win. But for me, it's tough. It's tough. Passion-wise, I'd sit here and say, I would sit here and say, let's just try and sneak something. But I can see it being 2 or 3 to you. I honestly can. I think we'll score, but I can see it being 2 or 3 to you, and that hurts. I don't want any of your followers on here to sit here and think this is a Manchester United fan, accepting his fate. This fucking hurts, because we have not been in this situation for a long, long time. I'm 36, so I can just about remember us being shit before we went on that massive run of winning Premier League after Premier League. So to sit here and say at home at Old Trafford, our home, that we are going to go 2 or 3 down, it hurts. But the realist in me I have to hold it, and I have to own everything I've said this season. I would be sat here lying if I said we're going to come out, we're going to do something, it's going to be 1-0 United. I can't do it. I just can't do it.
And ask you one last question, right? Which is another painful question, but I need to ask it. What are the chances that City smack United up? Because there are some people. I don't think we will. I think United will be too defensive. Because I think Ten Hag's like, we can't afford to get smacked up. We conceded 6 last year. We conceded 7 against Liverpool. But there are some people out there saying City could do him big time. Could that happen? And if so, is that terminal for Ten Hag, or do you think he's still got time after that?
I think he's still got time. I do. I've said this to you before, LB. Man United, everyone knows we don't have money at the moment. You're never going to sack Ten Hag, regardless if you want him out. We can't afford to do that. Do I see you guys absolutely slapping us? We got slapped against Brighton at home earlier on in this season. Okay, that scoreline flattered us. It was 3-1, I think, 3-1. It could have been 5 or 6. So do I think you could? Yeah, 100% I do. I just hope to God that, like I've said before, that those players on Sunday morning wake up in their expensive houses with their expensive commodities, look in the mirror and say, we are Manchester United and this cannot happen. Because at the moment, I don't trust any of those players to do that. So we can hope. But yeah, of course it can happen, LB. Of course it can, mate. 100%.
It's going to be a madness. I think City will win the game. I think we'll keep a clean sheet. I think there is a possible situation where City can go on a madness and score bare goals. But I just think that if there's any sign of that happening, I just think Ten Hag will just be like, nah, shut it down, man. You remember when we beat you 6-1, right? One of the reasons, yeah, sorry about this, bro. But one of the reasons that happened is because you didn't shut it down. You tried to get back into the game. And I remember after the game, Ferguson was like, yeah, 3-0 down, really. We should have shut it down. You know what I mean? And obviously, but then you got the goal. Fletcher scored a sick goal from the edge of the box. It was like, boom, come on, let's do it. Get back into it. And then we just rip you apart on the counter-attack. I think in this one, if we do go 2 goals up, say we go 2 goals up in the first half or whatever, I'd be shocked if Ten Hag didn't go to the side of the pitch and go, shut it down, boys. Shut it down. We're not taking a tanking.
He'll have to. He's got to have learned from Liverpool last season. He has to have. In that game, we still tried to play, and I completely agree with what you say. I think we will see a case of shutting it down. Maybe he sacrifices Anthony, puts Bruno on the right, and brings McTominay on, and just completely goes flat in that midfield. No point in trying to attack. So yeah, it could.
So it's going to be a madness. Obviously, live watch along is going to be completed this Sunday. This stream, by the way, redirects you to the watch along. So if you can do me a favor, guys, go over there now and just smash the likes up on the watch along. Just massively help support the channel and support that stream. El Clasico tomorrow, 3:30 season. We will be there. Somehow, I don't know how we're going to get the game on just yet, but we'll find a way. So make sure you join me tomorrow. 3:30 is the kickoff time. I'll be live probably 15 minutes before it, something like that. So that should be fun. And then I think Saeed's coming on my channel after that for an hour or so, talking about the game. But listen, people, hopefully you've enjoyed it. Big up to Dan for coming on. You know what I mean? He's tried his best to be positive and that, but the guy's down in the dumps. You know what I mean?
LB, I wish you'd have seen me 10 years ago, mate. Oh, what a sight!
I was a Chelsea fan then, bro. Guys, enjoy the rest of your Friday night, man. Have a good one. I'll see you tomorrow for El Clasico, 3:30. See you later.